Welcome to JK Tells a Story, where real-life dramas unfold. Sit back and enjoy today's tale. After many years of marriage, it can be difficult to maintain friendly relations since most of the time has to be devoted to family, but I still managed to find a balance during a recent hunting trip with friends. I learned the shocking truth about my wife, which prompted me to start my own investigation. There are men who are completely unaware of this. I was one of them once. Men who don't notice this should have a special meeting place where we can get together, have a couple of glasses, and confess our ignorance. The only problem is that we probably won't even realize that this meeting is meant for us. Rebecca and I got married when we were 20 years old. We spent so much time together that we raised 3 children and even had some fun between pregnancies. I tried to follow the advice from the books, presenting myself as a faithful husband. When Emma went to college, I wondered how Rebecca would spend her time when her children were grown up. It turned out that she decided to volunteer at the hospital. She devoted 3 days a week to helping, alternating shifts at the gift shop and the children's playroom as well as other places. Despite the fact that our children were no longer at home, our group of friends remained united and still gathered monthly for barbecues and house parties. I especially became friends with 3 men from our group because of our shared passion for hunting. We often planned weekend trips together, usually 4 to 5 times a year. I used to think that our marriage was the same as everyone else's, a typical lifestyle of the couples around us. Our children grew up and moved away, our wives were busy with different things, some were working, some were not, and we, the husbands, were focused on our careers, counting down the days to retirement. On the hunting trip, we chatted about all this, sometimes diving into deeper discussions about relationships and intimacy. In May, the 4 of us went hunting. We sat around the campfire and looked at the forest while cleaning our rifles. Our conversation began with Jake talking about a recent trip to University of Texas at Austin to visit his son. He told how his wife found an empty contraceptive wrapper in their son's room, which upset him very much. In response, Marcus told a story about returning home after visiting their daughter at college. His wife mentioned that Ashley confessed to her about an intimate relationship with her boyfriend. We laughed when he talked about a young guy always in worn, dirty clothes, desperate for a shave and constantly slouching. Nathan was silent for a moment. Sensing his thoughtfulness, I asked, "Nathan, what are you thinking about? You seem to be deep in thought." He hesitated before answering. "I don't dare to say anything. If I'm wrong, I can start something that might offend someone, and if I'm right, it could hurt all of us." "Did you witness something, or is it speculation?" I asked. After a short pause, without being distracted by cleaning his rifle, he finally confessed, "I saw your wife at the Lakewood Country Club twice in the last month." "Whose wife and when?" I asked. "Yours. 3 weeks ago and the day before yesterday," he said. Jake interjected, "Are you implying that Michael's wife is unfaithful?" "I can't confirm her behavior. I can only say that I've seen her at the club twice in the last month," Nathan explained. "I deliver groceries to all the country clubs in the area 3 times a week, including Lakewood." Marcus nodded, realizing his mistake. Thinking about this situation, I couldn't help but wonder, why would Rebecca go to the Lakewood Country Club twice in a month? Is she unfaithful to me? I stayed hunting with the group, not wanting to leave because that would mean admitting my suspicions of Rebecca's infidelity. Back in town, I picked up Jake's car and drove home, but found that Rebecca was gone. I sat down at my computer, thinking about how to find out the truth about her whereabouts. I spent the next few hours searching for clues online and eventually decided to hire a private investigator. When Rebecca returned, I started flirting with her, but she waved me off, saying she had a headache. It was expected. For the next week, Rebecca and I lived as usual, but I couldn't get rid of my suspicions. I watched her closely, even calling her at random moments, but everything seemed fine. After a few days, I received a call from my private investigator, Detective Sullivan. He had been following Rebecca discreetly and had some initial findings. The next morning, Rebecca mentioned during breakfast that she had no duties at the hospital and was going shopping. From my office, I received updates from Detective Sullivan as he followed her carefully as she made her way to the mall and then to the market. She returned home with her shopping at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. At 1:30, she went outside again, drove south for 10 minutes, then east for another 10 until she finally reached the Lakewood Country Club. Detective Sullivan continued his surveillance from a discreet distance. At 4:20, she left the club and went straight to her car. As she was leaving, she noticed Bradley Cooper coming out of the same exit. They exchanged nods as she drove past him. Bradley Cooper's presence surprised me because he was married to one of the most attractive women in our social circle. When he left, she stayed in the parking lot. At that moment, I decided to call Rebecca to see if I could detect anything unusual. When she answered, her voice sounded distant. "Michael." "Rebecca, why not just say hello?" she asked, feeling confused. "Hello. What would you like for dinner tonight? How about trying something adventurous? Maybe a hot sauce dish?" "Oops, we're out of sauce. Do you have any other ideas? Maybe something fresh and nutritious like a salad or grilled salmon." I tried to turn the conversation to usual topics, distracting attention from my true feelings. "What time will you be home?" "About 5. "Sounds good. See you later." After I hung up the phone, a sudden idea struck me and I decided to call Detective Sullivan. He informed me that he had managed to obtain access to the club's registration logs. It turned out that Bradley Cooper had a habit of visiting the club on specific days. He checks into a private room every Thursday afternoon, invariably choosing the same room. Sometimes he comes on other days, but on Thursdays he has a constant pattern. The records show this has been going on since January. I asked if he could provide documentation of this pattern. He assured me that he could prepare a detailed report with dates and times. I asked him to bring it to my office tomorrow. When I arrived home, Rebecca had made a salmon salad so we could enjoy it together as well as tea. She also told me about her shopping day, mentioning that she stayed at the mall until 3 o'clock and stopped at the market on the way back. As she talked, I couldn't shake the suspicion that she wasn't telling the truth. Justifying myself, I went to the bathroom. Inside, I saw a wet shower and clothes in the laundry basket, and anger rose in me. How could Rebecca have had an affair with Bradley for months? It was obvious that she wasn't being honest with me. After dinner, she relaxed on the couch with a book, and I went to the computer. Scrolling through our social circle, I came across the email addresses of Bradley's wife, Alexandra. Using another mailbox, I sent a message to her personal address, which seemed unfamiliar to her. My message was direct. "If you want to know who is cheating on you, when and where Bradley goes, please reply to this email. I have evidence that you might be interested in. I'm not looking for any financial gain." I sent the letter at 8:10 and got a response by 9 o'clock. "I have almost the whole day off tomorrow and I will be showing a new house on Maple Avenue in Cedar Park. Feel free to come to my place for lunch or come anytime when the house is open to chat." After that, I deleted both her email and mine before going to bed. Rebecca joined me when I was already asleep. In the morning, she had already woken up and was preparing for her day at the hospital, while I, as usual, was preparing for work. At noon, I called Rebecca to ask if I could take care of dinner that evening. "Are you planning to cook?" "What is it exactly?" she asked. "Is there any particular dish that you would like me to cook?" I asked. "Jambalaya," she exclaimed. "Jambalaya it is," I assured her. After checking with Detective Sullivan that Rebecca was indeed at the hospital, I left my workplace. On the way, I called Alexandra to confirm our meeting. I stopped at the sandwich shop to pick up lunch, a sandwich for myself and a salad for Alexandra. At about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I parked next to the open house sign and walked up to it. When Alexandra saw me, her face turned white. She quickly put up a sign on the street that she would be back at 2 o'clock and returned to the house. We sat down on the sofa, and tears filled her eyes. She seemed to be on the verge of an emotional breakdown and couldn't speak. I also felt a wave of fear wash over me. Hastily rummaging through my briefcase, I handed her the investigator's report. When she read it, tears welled up in her eyes and a soft voice. I said, "I'm sorry." She looked up at me, and her face reflected suffering and vulnerability. "This disgusting man has been cheating on me for months. He was romantically involved with your wife Rebecca for at least part of that time. I'm really sorry," she said. She paused, wiping her eyes before firmly stating, "He's going to pay for this. These reports aren't enough. We need more evidence, and we need to be prepared for the consequences." I agreed. I have a tendency to act without thinking. We need to come up with a well-thought-out plan. An hour later, Alexandra took down the lunch sign, and we continued to talk until almost 4 o'clock. Unfortunately, no one came to the open house, but before I left, we already had a plan ready. In the late afternoon, while browsing the internet, I came across a convention in Dallas specifically designed for professionals in my field, as well as another convention for real estate agents. Excited, I shared the information with Alexandra, who also wanted to attend both events. As soon as my reservation was confirmed, I told Rebecca about the convention, emphasizing what opportunities it provided for establishing contacts. I invited her to join me, but although she looked interested, she asked for time to think and said she would give me an answer the next morning. Meanwhile, Alexandra waited for Bradley to return home, informed him about the convention she planned to attend, and asked him to join her. Unfortunately, he had to decline due to a busy schedule. The next day, Rebecca called me at work to share her doubts about going to Dallas for 3 days and 1 night, as well as about the long road. She mentioned the possibility of visiting her sister. Despite my attempts to hide my disappointment, we did not delve into the topic of the trip. The next day at work, I contacted Henry Hawkins, my business lawyer, to make sure there was no conflict of interest with Rebecca, both personal and professional. After confirming the situation, we discussed the possible consequences of the divorce, and I carefully documented our conversation in a digital file. I discussed with him the division of the family property and expressed my concerns about fair treatment. He outlined a strategy to protect me and my assets and organized the collection of evidence of their affair. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my phone rang. It was Alexandra calling from a payphone. I had a room booked at the Omni Hotel, and she was staying at the Westin. She listed the things she needed to take with her, and I advised her to take a laptop, a personal phone book, and a cell phone that could be used in Dallas without a high fee. In the evening, when I was finishing packing, Rebecca came and checked my suitcase. "You forgot your business cards," she remarked. "I have them in my briefcase," I replied. "But you might need extras at the convention," she advised. I got a few extra business cards ready, and she didn't say anything else. After packing my things, I put my suitcase in the car and did my evening chores before going to bed. I playfully suggested Rebecca have some fun in bed before the trip, but she looked too tired. "Maybe when you come back," she said with a smile. Before dawn, I set off. At 7:30, the phone rang, and I answered it. It was Alexandra asking, "Where are you?" "I'm almost at Waco," I replied. Then she reminded me, "Do you remember that there's a Denny's restaurant where we usually stop when driving to Dallas?" "Yes, it's about 2 miles ahead," I confirmed. "Go there, and I'll meet you in 20 minutes. Do you agree?" she asked. I agreed. Of course. "I'm hungry. Should I make an order for you?" I suggested. "No, I'll wait. You go ahead and start," she refused. I drove onto the highway and parked in front of Denny's restaurant. Alexandra came in jeans, a loose Western-style shirt, and boots, which was a surprise compared to my expectations. She greeted me with a smile and sat down, and the waitress quickly brought her the menu and coffee. While we were ordering, I couldn't help but notice how different Alexandra was from the usually polished professional woman I was used to seeing, even at social events. After we ate, Alexandra complained that she would have to go to Dallas alone. I asked her to come with me and she agreed. She followed me to the nearest parking lot. When we arrived, I asked about the price of parking for 3 days and found it acceptable. We parked next to each other, and I helped her move her things into my car. Since neither of us needed to travel alone, we set off together. For the next 3.5 hours, we discussed plans. I drove the car and she took notes. We stopped at a rest area to refuel and take a break. Our connection arose due to the fact that we had experienced infidelity in our marriages together, but now a friendship had developed between us. I felt a strong connection with her, despite the fact that we had never really known each other. During our journey, we experienced laughter, sadness, and a strong sense of camaraderie. After dropping her off at a hotel in Dallas, I arranged to meet her for dinner later. While in my room, I called my lawyer, who, laughing, informed me that it was possible to return. He told me that my wife had gone to her lover's house, and that they were in my bedroom. Maybe I should ask Alexandra to contact you? I wonder if she's already been contacted. If you both hire me, I can save you a significant amount of money. Thank you. May I ask a hypothetical question? Of course. What happens to the case if Alexandra and I decide to be together during our stay in Dallas? Unless your wife or Bradley is monitoring your whereabouts, nothing will change. We will block both numbers. Do you want to submit the documents first, or deliver them before you return? No, I want to be present when the locks are changed, before the documents are brought to her. I also want to get a restraining order to keep her away from my business and home if possible. When do you need me to prepare everything? I'll talk to Alexandra and let you know. An hour later, I arrived at the French Room, the restaurant Alexandra had chosen. We sat down at the table, talked, and began to enjoy the meal. Using my mobile phone, I contacted our lawyer and advised him to refrain from any action until our return. In the meantime, I've instructed Detective Sullivan to gather additional evidence while we're gone. It is preferable to have enough evidence than not enough. After the conversation, we paid the bill and walked around the shopping district together, refraining from physical contact despite my strong desire to do so. The thought that Rebecca might cheat on me in my absence did not leave me. We reached the taxi rank, and she returned to her hotel. When she was about to get into a taxi, I felt how she wanted to kiss me, and I reciprocated, but we restrained ourselves. Half an hour later, when I entered my room, the phone rang. It was Rebecca. It's getting late. Where have you been? She asked. I had dinner at the French Room and went for a walk, I replied. I saw a beautiful outfit that I think you'll like. Should I buy it for you? Open clothes? You know I don't often dress provocatively. I can't believe I'm almost 50. So it's a rejection? Yes, it is. But if you come across a beautiful necklace or another piece of jewelry, I would be grateful. Okay, I'll take a look tomorrow. In the meantime, I'll turn off the phone and get some rest. Good night, Rebecca. I adore you. Sweet dreams. Good night. She never said she loved me. When I finished my nightly routine and climbed into bed, ready to turn off the phone, there was a knock on the door. Hi, I said, opening the door and letting Alexandra in, then closing it tightly behind her. I was standing in a top, and she was still in jeans and a Western-style shirt. Bradley was at home and didn't even pay attention to my calls because he was lying in bed with your wife. I couldn't stop thinking about it during the taxi ride to the hotel. I went back to the room, asked the receptionist not to disturb me for the night, quickly made the bed, and headed straight here. She greeted me with a smile and a hug. I couldn't help but ask, "Are you here to take revenge?" Initially, I wanted to be with you to avenge the betrayal that we both went through, but now I don't have that motivation. Bradley ruined our marriage. I could be sad for years, pretending to be a victim. I was drowning in self-pity when melancholic songs were playing on the radio, but instead of sinking into despair, I decided to change my life and accept it the way I wanted it to be. I longed for you to be next to me in bed, but I didn't want us to have intimacy. I longed for your companionship and love, but I wasn't ready for anything more yet, she explained. Putting my arm around her shoulders, I asked her what she liked. I like being loved and taken care of, she replied. I'll give it my all, I promised. I went into the bathroom and turned on the shower. We took turns showering and exchanging kisses before finally heading to bed. Alexandra, I want us to lie down, hug, and fall asleep with our arms around each other, I said. Alexandra gently took my face in her hands, and a tear rolled down her cheek. We kissed gently before she climbed into bed. I made room next to her, and she settled uncomfortably, wrapping her arms around me. I kissed her gently on the lips, and we fell asleep. When I woke up, she surprised me with another kiss, which led to a more intimate moment between us. She took the initiative, and I was unable to resist her advances. After a passionate meeting, we both felt tired and decided to get some more sleep. When we finally woke up, we realized it was almost noon. After taking a shower and getting dressed, we headed to Alexandra's room where she needed to change into fresh clothes. While she was changing, I called our lawyer, who informed me that Bradley and Rebecca had spent the night together in our marital bed. In addition, Detective Sullivan had taken pictures of various rooms in our house, including the backyard, bedroom, living room, and my computer desk. Grateful for the information, I thanked the lawyer and ended the conversation. Then Alexandra and I got into my car and drove to Lake Louisville, having a conversation filled with a variety of emotions, from anger to sadness. As we continued our journey, the pain did not subside. By the time we got to Beaumont, Texas, my heart was heavy with sadness. Our conversation showed that Rebecca and I had lost the love and connection we once shared. We both still cared deeply about our children, but our love for each other had long since faded. Alexandra also realized that her relationship with Bradley had reached a breaking point. We stayed in Beaumont for dinner and then headed back to Dallas, lost in our own thoughts. The time flew by unnoticed as we discussed our lives and plans for the future, including hopes for the next few years and what would happen to our children after the divorce. Back at the hotel, I packed my things, put my suitcase in the car, checked out, and moved into Alexandra's room. When we were lying in bed together, she started crying. Despite trying to stand firm like my hero John Wayne, I also found myself on the verge of tears. Unlike my previous experience with Rebecca, where our time together in bed was focused on getting quick pleasure, lying in bed with Alexandra brought me pure joy just from her being there for me. These new emotions were unlike anything I had experienced before. The next morning, we shared another intimate moment, after which we decided to take a nap. When we woke up, we ordered food and drinks in the room and prepared to leave, exchanging loving glances and kisses. When we reached the parking lot where Alexandra's car was parked, she asked, "What now?" I also thought about our next steps. "I don't want to share a bed with Bradley. I want to be with you," she said, sitting down and giving me a puzzled look. "You said you wanted me to be with you, not Bradley. Bradley and Rebecca have been doing this for a long time, so why can't we?" "Let's do it," I replied. "Really?" "Yes, let's do it this way. We will no longer feel angry, abandoned, or offended. They will be able to fulfill their desires, and we will win." Did we win? The real victory is waking up with you every morning and living next to you. But what if Bradley is just playing games with Rebecca and doesn't really want to be with her? In that case, they will only get what they deserve. By giving up honesty, they are missing out on two wonderful people, their homes, and their families. It would be better for all participants if there was more transparency. I need time to think about everything. Let's meet at my office to discuss everything in more detail. Do you have enough time to think about everything? Let me clarify. You're suggesting that we live together? You're suggesting that all four of us get divorced, right? Alexandra, the four of us are really getting divorced. As soon as the divorce is finalized, I would like to marry you the very next day. Will you marry me? It may seem too early because we just met, but in fact, we have known each other for many years. It's only been a few days since we didn't even think about the possibility of love. At the moment, I am completely dedicated to loving you. My feelings for you are sincere. Alexandra, please think about it. When you go to my office, drive carefully. I leaned over and kissed her as she got into the car. This kiss promised the love that I was ready to give. She put a towel on the seat and drove away. While she was leaving, I wondered if she would visit my office and accept my offer, and where I would spend the night. When I pulled up to the parking lot, Alexandra was already waiting by her car. As soon as I parked, she hurried to open my door and squeezed into the tight space between me and the steering wheel. I love you, she said impatiently. I want to wake up with you every morning. I will marry you. She paused for a moment, showering me with kisses, and then asked, "What are we going to do next?" "We need to meet with our spouses. Let me check the GPS to find out where they are." Both beacons indicated that they were at my house. "We'll go to your place," I said. 10 minutes later, we pulled up to the house and parked behind our car in the driveway. Quietly entering the house through the back door, we heard indistinct sounds. After going through the whole house, we found them in my bedroom. Rebecca betrayed me there. Ignoring our presence, they continued their actions. I invited Alexandra to sit on the edge of the bed and took a seat next to her. Alexandra avoided looking directly at the scene. After a while, they stopped their antics, and that's when Bradley noticed us. "Oh no!" he exclaimed. Rebecca noticed us and froze. Alexandra broke the silence. "You ruined my sheets, Rebecca." Rebecca rushed to find her clothes, and Bradley remained on the bed, watching us. I suggested, "Maybe you need time to get ready and get dressed." "Oh my God, Michael, I feel terrible about this. We didn't plan this," she exclaimed, tears welling up in her eyes. "Let's talk when you freshen up and change," I suggested. When they got up and left the room, I gathered up their clothes and headed to the bathroom. Alexandra was already trying to change the sheets on the bed. "The next steps will depend on you," I informed her. "Which house should we live in? Do you want to stay here or in my place?" "Why should I choose?" she replied. "It's their fault they betrayed us. We have to make a decision." At that moment, Bradley and Rebecca entered the room. I invited them to sit in the chairs by the window, and they took seats at opposite ends. Alexandra finally gave up on changing the sheets and joined us, sitting next to me on the edge of the bed. Bradley started to speak, but Alexandra cut him off with a raised hand, silencing him. Then she looked at him and asked, "Bradley, do you really love this woman, or is it just a physical attraction?" After a moment of silence, Bradley lowered his eyes and, meeting Rebecca's gaze, confessed, "I think I love her." I turned to Rebecca and asked, "And you? Do you love Bradley?" Rebecca reacted immediately. "If things were different, would you consider moving in together?" Bradley paused before saying, "I don't want our marriage to be over. So you're asking me for permission to continue seeing my wife? Do you think Alexandra should deal with the consequences of your actions on her own?" I asked sharply. "I didn't want you to find out. I didn't want anyone to get hurt," Bradley confessed. "I want to save my marriage." Alexandra asked coldly, "Would you mind if I had an extramarital affair?" Bradley's eyes widened, and he protested, "No, you're my wife." I continued, "How would you feel if I had an affair with Alexandra right here in your bed in my bedroom?" Bradley was stunned. "No, it shouldn't be like that," he said. "Wait, are you connected?" he asked Alexandra incredulously. "No, I've never been involved with Alexandra," I clarified. "I assumed it would be fair if we played out the scenario with both of you watching so you could see the emotional damage of betrayal." Wiping her tears with a tissue, Rebecca apologized to me, expressing regret that she had offended me. Bradley accused Rebecca of deliberately planning and repeatedly visiting the club for extramarital affairs, causing me even more pain. Alexandra ordered Bradley to pack his suitcase within 5 minutes and be out the door in 6. She told him to contact her lawyer and arrange for the return of the rest of his items. Bradley stood motionless while Alexandra looked at her watch. Then she turned to Rebecca and warned her that she would be heading to Alexandra's house soon. Rebecca had 5 minutes to pack her things and leave. Upon arrival, Alexandra repeated that they both needed to contact her lawyer for further preparations. She threatened that if any of them returned without going through a lawyer, she would distribute incriminating photos to everyone, including their children. Alexandra warned Bradley, reminding him that they had 4 minutes. In a hurry, Bradley quickly headed for the closet. Alexandra started counting down, and when she got to 1 minute, I went to the bedroom door. "You better leave before time runs out," I said. Bradley quickly packed up his things and left without saying a word to either Alexandra or Rebecca. "Rebecca, it's time for you to go," I said. "When we left the house," Alexandra reminded me, "don't forget to lock the door. If Bradley comes back, call me." I told him that the photos would be on the internet before he could find them. I added, "Be careful. We can't predict what Bradley might do," Alexandra warned. I followed Rebecca as she was leaving the house, and she followed my car to Alexandra's house. I opened the door just a crack and greeted her. Tears ran down her cheeks as she entered the house. Once inside, she sank into a chair in the kitchen, shaking with sobs. "I'm really sorry, Michael." "Good, that's how it should be," I replied. "In January, you started a relationship with Bradley, and our intimate relationship ended. Did I miss something? Have you been unhappy with me?" "No, it's just that with Bradley I got a sense of importance. I believe you can do it without me. The children don't seem to depend on me. You seem to have everything under control. Bradley made me feel important. He didn't even say goodbye when he left. He's not filing for divorce, which means he doesn't want to be with you. You were just a convenient choice for him. Do you understand what role you played in this situation?" I met her gaze and gave her the answer she was looking for. She was a woman known for her free morals and could be content with being alone. I could only hope that everything she had done was worth the consequences. This led to the collapse of her marriage, her home, her possible future with me, and perhaps even her relationship with her children. Rebecca sat with tears streaming freely down her face. I took a Diet Coke from the fridge and sat down in front of her. When the tears subsided, I looked at my watch and reminded her that she had the 5 minutes we had agreed on. As soon as I set the timer on the microwave, I noticed that when everything goes according to plan, she wouldn't be there a moment later. The door closed behind her. I watched her pack 2 suitcases into the car and drive away. Later, I saw from my window that Bradley had followed her and was parked down the street. I grabbed a small recorder and walked closer to where they were parked. Hidden behind another car, I could overhear their conversation as they sat in Bradley's vehicle with the windows down. Rebecca's sobs echoed from the car. "They won't actually divorce us?" Bradley tried to reassure her, but deep down, Rebecca knew the truth. "I was going to get a divorce and would never take her back," Rebecca lamented. "I used to be a good wife. Now I'm just nobody. What have you done to me?" She accused Bradley, her voice full of pain and anger. "What are you going to do now?" she demanded, feeling abandoned and betrayed. "You don't care what happens to us. We got caught, and now you're leaving me," she accused him, calling him a coward. "If I could, I would send these photos to your children, not mine," she threatened, her voice full of bitterness and resentment. "I can't bring myself to do this. I can't bear the thought of my children seeing me with you, with the one who ruined my marriage," she cried, her voice breaking. A moment later, I heard the car door open and close. Then there was the faint sound of the engine starting, and the car drove away. I turned off the recorder, feeling a wave of anger and bitterness wash over me. Despite my emotions, I couldn't bear to watch Rebecca suffer any longer. There was an empty tissue box in front of me. While rummaging in the garage, I came across a set of locks that I bought a few years ago but never got around to installing. When I finally installed them, Rebecca's keys no longer fit my house. I immediately called Alexandra and asked, "How are you?" She replied sadly and confirmed that she would be back soon. Bradley had come to the house and wanted to talk to her. Insisting on being let in, I quickly left the house, knowing that the journey would take only 10 minutes. I told Alexandra to call me on my cell phone if he showed up before me. Bradley turned out to be even more disgusting than I imagined. He dumped Rebecca, used her for his own pleasure, and cheated on Alexandra without hesitation. I cursed him for his callousness and swore that I would never accept him into my life again. "Hang on, I'll be there soon." "I love you," I said. The call ended abruptly, leaving me with a heavy heart. While driving, I followed the speed limit. As I drove into the driveway, I noticed Bradley's car parked at the curb and saw him standing on the porch deep in conversation. As soon as I closed the car door, he stopped in place and turned to face me. "Let me talk to Alexandra." "No, she was your wife," I replied sternly. "I warned you not to come back, but here you are. Remember what I promised to do. Don't make me do this." "I just want to talk to her," he insisted. "It's too late. I've seen you and I've already sent out photos. I have more than 100 of them. I even sent some to your children," I said coldly. "I sent letters to your friends and to the newspaper, each with your face in it. Talking to Alexandra won't save your marriage. You will receive the divorce papers on Monday. Congratulations, you wanted to have fun, but you got more than you expected." Bradley ignored a police car parked nearby and aggressively approached me. I didn't move, watching him approach. A powerful blow to my chest knocked me to the ground. Just as he was about to strike again, Jake and Nathan from our hunting group, who had been standing behind a car, quickly intervened. Jake grabbed Bradley's arm while Nathan tackled him to the ground. "You've done enough damage, Bradley," Jake shouted. "I'll find you," Bradley shouted as they held him down. "This isn't over." Alexandra arrived, and we spoke briefly with Jake and Nathan while Bradley continued to shout threats from where they were restraining him. When they finally let him go with a warning, Bradley stumbled to his car and drove away. Jake and Nathan had heard about the situation from their wives and decided to come check on us. We thanked them for their intervention, and they left shortly after. When Jake and Nathan left, we returned to the house. "Did you really send those photos?" Alexandra asked. "No, it will only hurt our children. My children were supposed to come next weekend for Rebecca's birthday, but now with everything that's happened, I don't know if they'll still want to visit. If they are interested in the photos, I will not dare to show them. I hope they won't ask to see them." Witnessing Bradley's inappropriate behavior with Rebecca was too hard for me. I don't want our children to find out about this. Part of me wanted to figure out the situation. "Why didn't you do it?" He painted a dark picture of my future, filled with loneliness and desperate need for him. Despite his words, there was a noticeable lack of love for me, our children, or our family. There was a part of me that didn't dare open the door, still hoping that he and I would fix everything. But while I was standing there, I made a decision. I didn't open the door. When I saw his car on the street, I realized that I no longer needed him to feel complete. In the last 4 days, I've realized that I shouldn't be alone. I don't need his presence anymore. There is a man who adores me and is happy to show his love for me. There's a man who has been taking care of my children for a long time. You coached my children's youth football team for 3 years, not Bradley. You went camping with us. You fixed our leaky water heater. Standing in the doorway, I noticed that Bradley was upset and decided to contact our hunting friends. I talked to them, described the situation in detail, and expressed my concerns about his tendency to violence. I saw them driving up to the house. I was afraid he would hurt you, and he did. I thought maybe you could kiss me to ease the pain. Seems like a good plan. Maybe we should go to the bedroom to calm down a bit. I hugged her, and she hugged me back. As we walked to the bedroom, to my surprise, the room was tidy. I had changed the sheets earlier, and there was a fresh carpet on the floor. Despite the effort to make the room welcoming, we spent the evening together in bed, hugging, kissing, and enjoying each other's company until the sun came up. As soon as the light began to fill the room, Alexandra's phone and mine rang. Alexandra answered hers without getting out of bed, and I hurried into the hallway to answer mine. "Dad, what's going on?" My eldest son Connor was on the line. Confused, I asked, "What do you mean?" Connor explained that he called his mom in the morning to discuss their upcoming visit, but she burst into tears and told him to call me. After hanging up, she ignored further calls. "When will the three of you be able to return home? If necessary, we can come over tonight." "What's going on?" he asked. "I can't talk about it on the phone. Call me back and let me know how you plan to return. If you're flying by plane, I will meet you at the airport. If you're going by car, let me know when you get back. You don't want to tell me about it over the phone?" "No," I replied. "I'm sorry to keep you waiting, but it's better this way." After the call, I looked into the bedroom and saw that Alexandra, who was on the phone, looked pale and motionless. As soon as she saw me, she motioned for me to come over. Interrupting the conversation for a moment, she closed the phone and whispered, "This is Madison. Her father called from jail last night and asked for help with bail. She asks what happened. Please find out when they can return. We need to have a family meeting urgently. My kids are coming back tonight. Let's meet at your house and share the news together." Bradley was still in custody, and Rebecca's whereabouts remained unknown. Alexandra told her daughter to go home and take her brother with her so they could get in touch when they were around. They were supposed to go to my house for a meeting. Madison asked Alexandra a lot of questions, but Alexandra promised to give answers only when they were together. I contacted our lawyer to arrange for the delivery of the photos and told him about the attack and our future plans. He approved our plan and promised to deliver the photos personally. Having prepared, I bought packing boxes and packed Bradley's things in them, placing them in the garage. Alexandra found a spare key to his car, and we put it in the garage too. Before we went to my house, calls to Alexandra's phone were forwarded to mine. Once inside the house, I began to pack my things, and Alexandra looked around the house from time to time, asking me for advice. When the phone rang, I looked at the caller ID and handed the phone to Alexandra. It was Madison, who said she would be there in an hour. Alexandra thanked her and ended the conversation. Shortly after that, my children called and said they would also arrive in an hour. Alexandra offered to order pizza and salad with delivery, and she made the order. Collecting clothes and things, I felt the need to do something to occupy myself. When I came out of the bedroom, I found Alexandra standing by the window. I went over and hugged her. I know emotions will be high. Any tears or anger were not directed at us, but rather at disappointment, resentment, and the feeling that we had been betrayed. I reassured myself that we hadn't done anything wrong and reminded myself of our shared love. I knew I couldn't handle it without her. "Yes, we can do it and you can do it," I said. "I hope my presence here will make your life a little easier." She bent down to kiss me at that moment. My son's car pulled up to the entrance, coinciding with the arrival of the pizza delivery. "I'm going to set the table," Alexandra exclaimed and hurried into the kitchen. When I opened the front door, I saw my son Connor, who was helping bring food into the house, and quickly paid the delivery person. Looking around, he took in the scene in front of us. He noticed Alexandra, but his mother was nowhere to be found. "Where's Mom?" he asked. "I don't know," I replied. A few minutes later, Tyler and Emma arrived together. Alexandra's children appeared, and I greeted them warmly. Madison and her brother Ryan had arrived together. They started asking questions, but I raised my hand to silence them. "The food can wait," I said. "Let's all gather in the living room, and I'll explain everything." Alexandra's children and mine sat on one sofa, and we took chairs from the kitchen. I was about to sit down when there was a knock on the door. My lawyer, Henry Hawkins, handed me a large envelope. He quietly wished me luck. Noticing all the children in the living room, he asked if I needed him to stay, but I declined, thanking him. After closing the door behind him, I sat down and decided to share the story before answering individual questions. Everyone froze when I started talking. I was hunting with friends a week ago, I began. My friend said he saw Rebecca at the Lakewood Country Club in the afternoon. Intrigued, I decided to hire a private investigator to follow her. A few days later, I found out that Rebecca was meeting with Bradley Cooper, Alexandra's husband, at the club. After understanding the situation, I managed to get Bradley's club records, which showed that he had been booking the same private room regularly since January. The children exchanged glances and Ryan, Alexandra's son who had arrived with Madison, remarked, "Just because they were at the same club doesn't mean they were unfaithful." All the members of the group nodded in agreement. "You're right," I said. I decided to have the investigator look deeper, hoping there was no affair. I also contacted Alexandra to find out if she had any information about why Bradley was seen at the club. Our lawyer recommended that we leave the city for a few days to better understand the situation. Alexandra went to the Omni in Dallas and I went to the Westin. The next day, when I talked to the lawyer, he mentioned that he had photos of Bradley with Rebecca. "The photos in the envelope?" Madison asked, gesturing at the envelope on the floor. "Yes," I replied. Alexandra and I decided to postpone our return to another day. The situation is really disgusting. When we got back, they were at my house in my bedroom. We caught them. We suggested that they get divorced in order to be with each other. Bradley refused, but Rebecca agreed. After allowing them to collect their personal belongings, we escorted them out. I haven't had any contact with Rebecca since. Alexandra contacted me after Bradley came back and threatened her. She called our hunting friends, and when Bradley attacked me with a kitchen knife and threatened both of us, they intervened. He's in custody for assault with a deadly weapon. The interrogation began. "Do you want to get a divorce?" We both confirmed it. "Have you looked at the photos?" "We saw them in my bedroom." "You should not look at the photos. They are needed for legal purposes if necessary." "Is father going to jail?" Madison asked quietly. "He attacked me with a knife and is charged with assault with a deadly weapon. He'll likely serve 2.5 to 5 years for this." "Mom, how long ago did you find out that father was unfaithful?" Ryan asked Alexandra. "I found out when Michael showed me the investigator's records. He used our retirement money to book private rooms at the club." "Wow," Madison exclaimed. The others nodded in agreement. "And what happens next?" Emma asked quietly. "There will be changes. I decided to sell the house. It's too big for me right now," Alexandra explained. "Mom, I don't want to move," her daughter interjected. "I'm thinking about getting a roommate." The conversation turned in a different direction when Madison asked, "Mom, are you and Michael together?" Alexandra replied that they spent a lot of time in Dallas, but upon returning home, they decided to continue the relationship. Before we found out about our spouse's infidelity, Michael and I had never even kissed, but now I have the honor to call Michael my lover and future husband. We hope that you will be able to accept the new reality that we are facing. We love each of you. There was a heavy silence in the room for a while. Eventually, Madison got up from her seat and came over to me. She knelt down and hesitantly took the envelope. "I don't want to see these photos, but I feel like I have to," she whispered. I refuse to believe this story, but if the photos confirm its truthfulness, I will have no choice. With trembling hands, she carefully opened the envelope and looked inside. She looked at only one photo, then quickly closed the envelope and exclaimed, "What a scoundrel!" She handed the envelope to me with the words, "You have to let him know what you think of him." I was tempted to do so, but before I could do anything, Ryan came over and took the envelope from my hands. He spoke, then reached inside and took out about 10 photos. He calmly examined each photo and then returned them to the envelope. After that, we finished the leftovers of pizza and salad, but the children were still hungry. The heavy conversation had drained everyone emotionally, but we knew we needed to keep talking. At 9 o'clock, we decided to go out for a proper dinner at an Italian restaurant. The change of scenery might help us all process what we'd learned. While we were waiting for dessert, my son Tyler asked, "Maybe we'll plan a camping trip this summer?" Alexandra smiled and replied, "That sounds wonderful. Some of my happiest memories were the camping trips we did when the kids were little." I was silent for a moment when Alexandra's daughter Madison looked at me and asked, "May I, Dad? May I?" Tears flowed down my face. How could she accept me so quickly? How could I refuse? They all supported her words. "May I, Dad? May I?" "Of course. Sounds amazing. Let's coordinate our schedules and choose a date." When we left the restaurant, our plans for the first family camping trip were finally approved. It wouldn't be easy. There was still resentment and disappointment to work through, but we looked hopefully at what lay ahead. The children were beginning to understand that sometimes families are rebuilt in unexpected ways. As we drove home, I winced slightly when my still healing arm brushed against the steering wheel. Alexandra noticed and gently placed her hand on my good arm. "Does it still hurt?" she asked with concern. "Just a little tender. The doctor said it should be fully healed in a couple more weeks." "I'm just glad it wasn't worse. When I saw Bradley with that knife," she shuddered. "Thank God Jake and Nathan showed up when they did. I hate to think what might have happened." "They're good friends," Alexandra agreed. "We should have them over for dinner once you're fully healed." I nodded, making a mental note to call them tomorrow to express our gratitude again. 5 years later. Rebecca has not appeared in court and has been missing ever since the day she left Alexandra's house. She withdrew money from her credit card and disappeared. Bradley is currently serving a prison sentence of 3 to 5 years. The children still haven't visited him. His violent attack with the kitchen knife, combined with previous charges, resulted in a longer sentence than initially expected. The envelope remains with me and is carefully stored in our home safe. Every year, we continue our family tradition of camping together. Bradley had the opportunity to keep his house, his job, and Alexandra. I wonder if he ever thinks about it during his time in prison. Alexandra and I married 6 months after our divorces were finalized. Our families blended seamlessly, and our home is filled with laughter and love. The hunting trips continue, though now they often include some of the older children. Jake, Marcus, and Nathan remain our close friends, and I'll forever be grateful for their timely intervention that day when they prevented what could have been a tragedy. Rebecca's disappearance remains a mystery, though private investigators have found no trace of foul play. She simply vanished after accessing her accounts that final time. Part of me hopes she found peace somewhere, away from the destruction she helped create. As for Bradley, he writes letters from prison that go unopened. Alexandra says forgiveness may come someday, but not yet. Not until he truly understands the depth of what was lost, and the violence he resorted to when confronted with the truth. Our children have adapted remarkably well to our unconventional beginning. They joke now about how their parents' marriage story started with betrayal but ended with unexpected love. Connor and Madison even gave speeches at our wedding, welcoming Alexandra and me to each other's families. Sometimes, on quiet nights, Alexandra and I sit on the porch and reflect on how everything unfolded, how pain and betrayal led us to each other, how the very deception that destroyed our previous marriages became the foundation for something stronger and more genuine. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked me once, referring to everything: the investigation, the confrontation, the upheaval. "Never," I told her. "The only thing I regret is that we wasted so many years not knowing each other better." She smiled and took my hand. "Well, we have plenty of time to make up for it now." And indeed we do. Every morning I wake up grateful, not for the betrayal itself, but for the path it led us down. Alexandra and I have built something real, something honest, something that neither of us had in our previous marriages without even realizing it was missing. The camping trips have become legendary in our family. What started as a promise made in an Italian restaurant has evolved into an annual tradition that includes not just our immediate family, but extended relatives and friends. Last summer, even Jake, Marcus, and Nathan joined us with their families. As I write this, I can hear Alexandra in the kitchen, preparing for our next camping adventure. The kids, all of them, regardless of origin, are excitedly planning activities. This is what we built from the ashes of deception. A real family, bound not by genetics or legal documents, but by choice, love, and shared experiences. Bradley had his chance at this. Rebecca had hers. They chose a different path, one that led to violence and prison for him and to disappearance for her. While I don't wish them ill, I'm grateful they showed us what we truly valued in life: honesty, loyalty, and genuine connection. The envelope in our safe serves as a reminder of what was, but our daily life together is a testament to what is. And what is beautiful. Every hunting season, when Nathan, Jake, Marcus, and I head out to the woods, we talk about many things. But we never again need to share suspicions or painful discoveries. Instead, we plan surprises for our wives, discuss our children's futures, and make plans for the next family gathering. That day by the campfire when Nathan mentioned seeing Rebecca at the club changed everything. It ended one chapter of our lives and began another, one filled with more truth, more love, and more genuine connection than either Alexandra or I had experienced in decades. The real mystery isn't what happened to Rebecca after she disappeared. The real mystery was how two people could live so long in marriages where they weren't truly known or valued. Alexandra and I vowed never to let that happen again. My arm still bears a faint scar from that terrible day, but it serves as a reminder of how far we've come. Sometimes I run my fingers over it and remember not just the pain, but also the courage it took to face the truth and the love that emerged from the chaos. As I finish writing this, I hear her calling my name from downstairs. There's laughter in her voice, the sound of home. I close the journal where I've recorded this story, not for myself but for our children, so they'll understand someday why their family is configured the way it is, and how sometimes the most unexpected journeys lead to the most treasured destinations. Coming, honey, I call back, and head downstairs to join my wife, my family, my life. Everything I never knew I was missing until I found it in the most unexpected place. Thank you for your viewing. See you next time. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to JK Tells a Story for more tales.